welcome back to another day in the arena. It's me, it's CGB, and today in the arena, we're trying out a Leyline Ramp deck. This is all about Leyline of Abundance. This crazy card can start the game on the battlefield if it is in your opening hand, like all of the ley lines. And whenever you tap a creature for mana, add an additional green. For 6 green, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. You would be surprised how often you can use that final ability. And of course, when we're tapping a creature for mana for an additional green, what do we want to do? We want to have a whole bunch of mana creatures. The mighty Llanowar Elf, Incubation Druid, Leafkin Druid, and Paradise Druid all show up to tap for additional mana. With that additional mana, we can also play some Risen Reefs to synergize with our other elementals and get us deeper in the deck, and then play Cavalier of Thorns, which gets us even more mana and deeper in the deck. Then we can play Nissa Who Shakes the World to make even crazier more mana and more mana creatures. The elementals that Nissa creates tap for an additional mana, 1, if they're a forest because of Nissa, and 2, an additional mana because of Leyline of Abundance, and they are creatures that tap for mana. Then finally, with all that crazy amounts of mana, Mega Jellyfish Hydra Beast and Mega Mass Manipulation take all of your things from you. So sad. The deck has no removal. We ignore what the opponent is doing and try to do bigger, stronger things before they can really react to them. And that is about the size of that's it. That's really all there is. The deck is not complicated in the way that most of the time we're just trying to go Leyline into Elf into Big Thing. The deck is complicated in doing math, lots of mana math with Nissa Who Shakes the World, Hydroid Crassus, Leyline of Abundance, and you'll probably see me mess it up a time or two because no matter how much practice I get, I continually make math mistakes when I'm figuring out how much mana I can use. Well, let's go see just how bad I am at math right after these messages. So, it's a Leyline, it's an elf. This is what we keep. Now, we're going to need to get by for a turn so that the Nissa can come down as we don't have something for 4 mana, but if our elf lives, we're in a great place. There is something to be said for playing a tap land than playing the elf the next turn, but I think that doesn't take into account that we could top deck a card like Risen Reef. So let's get the elf down now. It also asserts dominance. When you get to open with this hand, you can almost hear your opponent groan from the other side of the world. White mana, Walrune Enforcer. It's on. Let's hit our Scry land. Another Nissa. Let's keep it, because the opponent may have Conclave Tribunal for the first one. We need to make it work. We need Nissa to be on the battlefield. Sky Marcher, Aspirant. The good thing about mono white is we can be comfortable that our elf won't get removed, but our Nissa sure might be. Is Walrune going to get busy? Of course, why not? It's a free damage. Alright, we could shock to have a breeding pool, which would give us extra mana from the Nissa if we draw another forest off the top. I don't know if that's going to be the case, though. So let's get this going. We do definitely want to animate a land. It is risky if something bad happens to the land, but Conclave Tribunal only takes out non-land permanents, so I suppose the biggest fear is a Baffling End, which I'm not too afraid of. Let's pick up the island. We want to use the untap on a forest on a future turn because of the extra mana it can generate. And this island right now does tap for 2 mana because of the Leyline, but we don't have a use for it. Now, we could attack. I don't think the opponent would double block. So I think it's a worthy attack, and if they do, I think that's great, because they're down 2 creatures, and their deck is all about those critters. So yeah, let's deal a little bit of what I believe will be free damage. Lawrune Enforcer can only tap creatures of converted mana cost 2 or greater, which this isn't one, this isn't one. So right now Lawrune is safe, or we are safe from Lawrune. A Hydroid Crassus is an example of a card it could tap down. So that's something to keep in mind. But my big secret evil plan is to steal so many of these next turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, untap, 10, 11, 12. 12 minus 4 is 8. So that's 4 permanents stolen with mass manipulation. We shouldn't try to steal the bodyguard. The bodyguard will sacrifice in response, so we'll steal the other 4 creatures. No reason to attack first either. We want to make as much mana as possible, and we don't want to run our creatures into the Loxodon. Now we'll see if I mathed correctly, and if you can start making fun of me. It looks like that's about right. So I think what I have to do is pay 4 because of the double X, and I often forget how this works as well, but mine. Mine, mine, mine. All of these are mine. Holy guacamole. City's blessing faster than our opponent could. That'll do it. Oh my lord. Somebody call the cops. There's been a robbery. Looks like we did pull something off the mastery tree there with the cosmetic glitch and a pack of cards. Alright. No Leyline, an Incubation Druid, Hydroid Crassus Cavalier Thorns. If the Druid lives, then we're kind of doing it if we draw land. So we need to draw land and we need our Druid to live. Does that make this a bad hand? I'm not sure, to be honest. It's very tempting to mulligan, but on the play I usually have more hope for a hand of this nature, so I will try it. If it were on the draw, I think I would have to... I don't know. Maybe I'm just that afraid of mulliganing that I would never mulligan the hand. If you have an opinion on the keeper mull, leave me a comment. Gutter Bones on turn 1. I don't feel like this Druid is long for this world, but get out there. Please survive. Okay, that is probably one of the better things we could have seen, since the Druid can block the Dreadhorde Butcher here. Now let's unleash a Hydroid Crassus for 2. Just to have something on the board and to try to hit our next land drop. The next draw step is going to be a real sweat. If we hit a land, I think everything's going very well. If we miss, this is terrifying. So, do we have a Judith? A Judith would be so bad, because the Butcher would be able to, if we block the Butcher, it could kill the Druid. But instead we don't have a Judith, so I'm blocking the Butcher, which is probably going to kill the Crassus, which is fine with me. The Druid needs to live. Wow, that is a beefy boy. But the land comes off of the top, and I think the play is going... Well, it could be Nissa, but Nissa's going to get attacked by the Rotting Regisaur. We would have to chum block with a land. We could also animate a forest and make a Paradise Druid to do the chump block. The other play that we could do is the Cavalier of Thorns, which can get us to an extra mana, and it can block the Regisaur, go to the graveyard, and put a Hydroid Crassus on top. This is a big decision. I think that the best solution is to get to a mass manipulation for that Regisaur or whatever else the opponent plays as quickly as I can. And I think that having a Paradise Druid to block the Regisaur will get me there. So Nissa comes down, Nissa animates the forest. And then the forest plays the Hexproof Paradise Druid to absorb a massive hit from the Regisaur so that we untap with Nissa and get to cast Mass Manipulation. Which right now is for 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 permanents. The Regisaur can be 1. We could also just play a Hydroid Crassus. If we have 8 mana, a Hydroid Crassus can battle with the Rotting Regisaur. If it lives, which is kind of a... Why wouldn't Gutterbones attack? Gutterbones is attacking. There we go. No trample. I'm thinking of like run amok or something ridiculous, but please don't give your Rotting Regisaur trample. Be devil afterwards. Interesting. Brutal play. So let's start by attacking with the Forest, then we can play a Cavalier of Thorns. If we hit another green source, we can play a Llanowar Elf. But because this has Vigilance, we can get the damage in first. Then we go for Big Beep Boy. And there is the Breeding Pool. Let's pay 2 life so that it's untapped. And let's play the Llanowar Elf. Now, if both of these are allowed to get into combat, they could tango with the Dinosaur. And the opponent is down to 1 card after they choose their discard here. And they discard a Rekindling Phoenix. That's a good card. Holy crap. And here they come. What if I just took the damage and put the Cavalier in front of the Gutterbones? Next turn, when I untap, I will be able to Mass Manipulate at least the Regisaur. So there's no reason to risk a double block here, but if the opponent has a removal spell, my Cavalier can get back my Nissa or my Crassus or the Manipulation. It's pretty tough. Or we could, what if we just kill off the Dinosaur? Are we in that good of a spot? Crassus is for how much? 4? Draw 2? It's not bad. But this attack and the fact that they discard Rekindling Phoenix, we know they have good cards left. So I'm going to do this and buy some time before I make such a play. I think that taking 7 is just a bit too big of a hit, but I'm guessing our opponent might have another Rekindling Phoenix here, and we need a Cavalier of Thorns to stop Rekindling Phoenix. Okay, they draw the Reveler. Oh, wow. So stopping the Spectacle means they didn't get 3 cards from the Reveler. That really worked out. Alright, so I could Mass Manipulate this Regisaur, but then I end up discarding my Crassus. I'm better off playing the Crassus. Start with a little bit of an attack step here. I think that racing the Regisaur is okay, but we can also block it with the Forest. Yeah, let's put some damage on the opponent now. They're at 13. We can make them respect our attacks as well. So let's add a mana here. Let's play our Crassus for 4, the extra mana. Making it 5 I don't think matters in this case. And let's leave our Forest untapped as another backup blocker potentially. And here's the Regisaur discarding another Rekindling Phoenix. That Rotting Regisaur has been taking down a lot of strong cards out of our opponent's hand. It's funny that I could steal it, but I don't even want it. However, here, being at 17, going to 10 seems okay, but what if the opponent drew another Rixmata Reveler? Let's just chump, because next turn we can Mass Manipulate and the game is all but over. So why give up damage if we don't really have to? I've got in some ways many cards to spare. The opponent says go with a card in hand. That the Regisaur would make them discard. That's kind of whack. We can go for lethal. 5, 6, 7, 8. I think they have a removal spell, but let's make them play it. We're still going to leave them very low on life and have a Llanowar Elf to chump block. Bubble, 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 bubble. Bubble, bubble. You like bubbles? Opponent loves bubbles. Okay, Bedevil, the choice is made. The Cavalier has died. Another Hydroid Crassus and a Mass Manipulation in hand. Let's put a Nissa who shakes the world on top of the deck, especially with our opponent going to a very low life total. Down to 4. Let's play another Llanowar Elf for the chumps. I mean, you've got a 7-6, but you're at 4 and I'm at 17. I think the days of Regisaur aggression have to be done. Here's a tapped Gutter Bones and a Scoop. No Leyline, but we have Elf, Druid, Reef. And we're on the play. How could I not? How could I not? The opponent on a mulligan, considering the second group of 7 with the London mulligan, then choosing a card to put on the bottom of the library. And there it goes. Elf. Now, what do you do on turn 2? Do you Druid or do you Reef? Do you Reef or do you Druid? I feel like Reef is the most tilting right now. As much as extra mana from the Druid could matter, I think the opponent might go out of their way to kill a Risen Reef, and it gets value even if they kill it. So we're going to go Reefy. We're going to put that land right onto the battlefield. Tap land, Firebrand. Will it be the Elf? Will it be the Reef? I told you the Reef is the tilt, and we already got the value out of it, so bye-bye. Alright, let's play the Incubation Druid. Let's see if we can get it leveled up, and then play a bigger Crassus. Let's also use Temple of Mystery to try to get a good card on top. I'll take a Reef. It's not the most powerful superstar reveal, but I'll take it. Now the opponent, they've got a Fanatical Firebrand, which implies an aggressive deck. But we've got them on the back foot. They need to remove these elves. There's a Mask of Immolation. What do you do? What is this? Sacrifice a creature, deal 1 damage to any target. Alright, so this enters the battlefield. Create a 1/1 elemental creature token. Equipped creature has sacrificed this creature. It deals 1 damage to any target. Okay. So I think we want to make this a 3/5, but I don't think we can make it a 3/5 and play the Reef because of the way that this only taps for 1 mana, but we'd better make it a 3/5 or the Mask is a big problem. And we don't want to do it on our opponent's turn, we want to do it while they're tapped out. Do I want to block with this? Do I want to have this available as a blocker, or should I get this tap land out of the way now so I don't have to pay life in the future? I may as well have the blocker and see what the opponent does. I might not actually plan to block with it. I could also just get in for damage. It at least makes Spectacle hard for the opponent, right? Which they might want. Well, they have it pretty much with the Mask. Yeah, if I don't plan to block, I may as well attack here. It could come in, that damage could come in handy. And then next turn, Mega Crassus. Alright, Dreadhorde Butcher's here, that's pretty good. Maybe a reason not to attack. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and 8, so... Go big. I'm sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, oh, 6. Maths. I told you I'd mess it up. I told you I'd get it wrong. Ooh. Not the greatest of reveals, but we do have Risen Reef and Cavalier of Thorns, which, it's strong. It's strong. Now the question is, can the opponent get through? They have a Judith. They pump the squad. I think I'm yeah, I'm gonna block your Butcher. Butcher can deal 3 damage, so it can trade with the Crassus, and I think I just roll with that. It's the way it is. We already drew 3 cards off the Crassus, so to trade it for a Butcher isn't too bad. Now we can Risen Reef, while the Mask isn't attached, so we can get extra value off of it. Cavalier of Thorns, another beefy boy. Ooh. I'm gonna be playing your deck next turn. Alright. Mana left over for a Hexproof Paradise Druid, which is safe from the mask. And a Breeding Pool. Whole bunch of mana onto the battlefield now. If the Cavalier dies, we get back a Hydroid Crassus, which has to be terrifying. So the opponent plays Priest of the Forgotten Gods, and they're stockpiling a little bit of this Rakdos power, but let's see what we got here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. In addition to the mass, so that's going to be 4 permanents. 1, 2, yep. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's grab those before the Priest of the Forgotten Gods untaps for sure. On it with the good game, and yeah, the masses were manipulated and the lethal was attacked for. Whew. Simic just laying down the beatings. I hope that you enjoyed this quick look at the Simic Leyline Ramp deck. It has a lot of power. It's fun in a different way, I feel, from most Magic games, and it's not always fun for me. So what I'm talking about is usually you look at your opening hand and you know your capabilities, and if your opponent doesn't kill the elves, that's pretty much what it is. If your elf doesn't die and you had kept a decent hand, you just do big powerful things that most people can't handle. If the opponent kills an elf, you spend a lot of time feeling pretty bad. Today the elves lived, the Leyline showed up once, but the deck did show it can compete without the Leyline pretty well. The power of Hydroid Crassus, mass manipulation, and the Cavalier of Thorns is not to be denied. If you try out this deck, may your opening hands be amazing, and your opponents will probably salty scoop in response to many mass manipulations. Don't forget to do the math. Thank you for watching this video. As always, I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.